Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about all movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Porco Rosso. It's a Studio Ghibli anime movie from 1992. It's about 1 hour and 29 minutes long, and the movie starts with an opening text crawl explaining who Porco Rosso is. He's a flying pig that hunts pirates for money. And then cutting to his private beach is like a hidden location between some rocks, and he's sleeping in the sun, and he gets a call on his phone, and that wakes him up, and he gets a contract to save a passenger ship. So he gets on his plane, and he has some engine trouble to start with, but he's about to change or fix it later. So he goes up into the air, goes away with his plane. It's this red kind of plane that you can land on the sea with, because they have this kind of floating devices on it, and he goes to save the passenger ships, but the pirates have actually just taken. It's like I think it's a group of girls from a swim school or something, really young girls, and the pirates have just taken them on their plane and they go away. And it's kind of a funny scene, the girls are not afraid of the pirates, so they just go about their business, and it's more of a humorous kind of situation, not like they're not violent. But anyway, the pirates fly away, and of course Porco Rosso catches up with them, and he shoots their engine, so they have to kind of land on the water. And one of the pirates, they have these mounted machine guns, like a tower, turret tower, and he kind of shoots off the Porco, and he kind of shoots the end of the plane, and it kind of shreds the back fin of the plane, and they kind of land, and it's sort of they had to they crash land basically, and they have to they give up basically because they don't have a chance against them, and the back end of the plane kind of falls into the water, and it's all such a funny scene, and he saves the girls, and they continue on like that. And then it cuts to a bar where the pirates are discussing Porco Rosso and Curtis. And Curtis is this American pilot that he is kind of in a contract with the pirates to basically help him out. And then Porco arrives at the bar. No, not exactly. Gina, the hotel/bar owner, starts to sing, and she sings "Time of the Cherries," which is this beautiful French song. And while this is happening, Porco is landing his plane outside, and it's a nighttime setting, and he goes into the bar to have a drink because he's thirsty or something. And immediately, because he's kind of a famous pilot, so these kind of two photographers goes up to him and take his picture and start to talk at him. But Curtis is super pissed because he's really enjoying the show that Gina is putting on. So he, by some magical, has this super strength. So he just lifts the reporter up and just tell him to shut the fuck up. Maybe not in those words, but I thought it was funny. And then he talks to Porco, and they kind of know each other by reputation. And it's sort of this weird kind of situation where they're kind of rivals at the start of everything already, because they have both a kind of an interest in Gina. So it comes in play later in their story, but so Porco kind of tells Curtis that he shouldn't hang out with pirate scum because they're filthy, cheap, and they don't bathe a whole lot. And this, of course, upsets the pirates, him name-calling them. And but the pirates get angry, and Gina calms them down, because this is a neutral place where there is supposed to be no fighting. And then Curtis makes a move on Gina, and that upsets the pirates even more. But because they've hired him, they kind of have to put up with him. And later, Porco is having dinner with Gina. A private dinner at her room or something, and the food in the Ghibli movie always looks so tasty and good. For some reason, they are really good at making bacon look glossy, for instance, or wine look kind of just like wine. It's kind of a weird thing, but anyway, they talk over dinner. They talk about the people that had died in the war, and she calls him Marco because he wasn't always a pig. And they had kind of this old photo of him on the wall, and he doesn't like it because something happened, and we'll get into that later in the review or the ramble, but he wasn't always like a pig. He was a man. But some of his actions turned him into a pig. And then Curtis leaves in his plane, and Porco kind of watches. And the next day, Porco goes back to his... he goes to the bank to collect the money from the Saving the Kids, the whole class. And outside there is a parade. There's like a government shift or something, so they're celebrating with army and tanks and everything. But he doesn't care about that. He goes into a basement, like a cellar, where he buys a machine gun and he buys some bullets. And then cut to the pirates, now with their ship repaired, and they're flying with the other air pirates. And it's kind of a funny scene. None of the pirates actually like each other. They're in the basically arguing and bitching about things. So the main gang, the one that tried to kidnap the children but failed, they repaired the plane, but they didn't have money for paint. So it's like all the planes like camouflage in the front because that's the original color, but then in the back there's like this kind of just silvery metal thing. I thought that was funny. And then, but of course, Curtis with them, and he's kind of flying high up in the sun so they can't be seen. And then the whole pirate gang kind of raids this passenger freighter, and but the passenger freighter has their own pilots. They have like this kind of decks where they can launch these fighters. So there's a whole like fight going on, dogfight, and Curtis swoops down and basically takes the good guys out. And then cutting to Porco on his hidden away beach, where he tries to repair the engine because he's been having engine trouble. But he doesn't make it work, so he kind of takes a little break. And on the radio, he hears that the pirates have raided this freighter, and they basically got away with all the goodies. And they have a message for him: "You're next in line. Come at it, pig," or something. There's something weird with the translation, but anyway. But he doesn't care because he has had enough of this shit. So he basically packs his plane and he's going to Milano, the Italian city Milano, for a vacation break because he deserves it. He has gotten a lot of money. But the winds, when he starts to fly, the winds are too strong, so he flies under the bad weather. And that's when he gets attacked by Curtis in his blue plane, and he shoots down Porco Rosso's plane, and he goes down to claim... And I thought that was kind of funny. He goes down to claim a piece of his plane as proof that he actually killed Porco. And he's going to give this like a souvenir to his mom in Alabama. I thought that was funny. I don't know why. It's something about a Japanese man saying Alabama or something. Because I watched the Japanese dub, the original version, I mean. But Porco is okay. He's just hidden away with his plane. He kind of under these kind of undergrowth bushes on an island. I don't know how he managed to get the plane there, but maybe just slide it under somehow. But the plane is badly damaged to the point of no repair, and the engine was bad in the first place. So he's on this island for a couple of days, I think. And then he managed to get to a phone, and he calls Gina and tells her that he's okay, and he has a message to Curtis, that he's alive. He has to try better next time if he tries to shoot him down, basically. But he's going to Milano anyway, or Italy, so he basically takes the plane on a ride all the way there to this shop owner that is supposed to be really good at engines. And I think he was in the Italian army to begin with, and that's why he turned out into a pig in the first place, but I will come up later, I guess. But he gets to the shop, and there's this kind of this man, old man, and he basically he has also a granddaughter called Fio, and she's this young red-haired girl, and she works She works as a mechanic at this place, so she takes the truck and kind of back it in with the plane and everything. And then the manager or the granddad of Fio, they take a look at an engine, a prototype engine, and it says Ghibli on it on the side. I thought that was kind of clever. And Theo kind of arrives in the room, and he's supposed to pay a lot of this to get it fixed, but he says like, well, it's in a bad shape, just get a new plane, and it's a lot of money. And then Theo enters the room, and there's like this argument that she's supposed to work on the plane or something, and Porco kind of doesn't like this because and she asks like this weird kind of thing, like, how do I describe it, like not racist but kind of against women kind of situation, but he kind of makes it work anyway. So she kind of says like, is it just because I'm inexperienced or young? And he says both, and she kind of turns around and she accepts this because she is young and inexperienced. And then she in return asks him a question: what makes a great pilot? Experience? And he kind of says no, it's inspiration. And then he goes to bed, and later, or in the next morning, he goes to look at the blueprints that Theo has been constructing or making. So they talk a bit and they make some changes to the prints, and all the women are working on this plane. The men are out in the war or whatever. They're not there anyway. So I think it's due to the depression. They need the money and they need the work. And before they start to do the construct the plane, they eat a bit and then they start to work. And then the old grandpa mechanic kind of guy and Porco goes to a shed and try to test the new engine, and it's so powerful it always blows the wall of the shed away. It's kind of a funny scene because everything just flies away like it's paper. Porco goes to watch a movie, like a cartoon, and he gets confronted by a military guy called Ferrarian or something, and he tells Porco basically that he's been followed by the fascist police or something, and because this is back in the day, depression, so this has to be like World War II or something. I don't know, but anyway, and they watch the movie together kind of loosely, and he says like Ferrarian tells Porco that they want him because of a treason to the country, and this is something to do with the backstory. And he's actually, I don't know if the term is trespassing is correct, but that's what he's doing. He's forbidden to visit Italy, but he had to go to fix his plane because Italians make great planes, I guess. So anyway, Ferrarian asked him if he wants to rejoin the military, and because that's one of the ways to get out of this mess, and Porco kind of says no, but they walk away as friends anyway. And later Theo gives him a ride after the movie, and he's actually chased by the fascist police. This man kind of dressed in black and driving a black car, but Porco kind of he kind of puts a smart maneuver, and they crash into a wall or something. So what happens next is that they have to rush the kind of production of the plane, so he basically has to leave really fast, or otherwise the authorities will get him. So they make some adjustments to the plane, so it kind of angers Porco that Theo wants to go along for the ride because she hasn't tested everything yet, so it's like she wants to follow along. So they make like this extra kind of seat, and they remove one of the machine guns so she actually can sit in the plane, because it's actually a one-man plane. So what happens then is that they open the doors, and they kind of go out into this canal, and the fascist police start to shoot at them, and Porco fires back, and he kind of tries to get away, like get a steep angle and kind of fly out of the canal, because it's a water-driven, or he can start and land on water. That's the point of these planes. So he has some trouble getting out of the canal because the plane is not behaving like it's used to. It's a different type of plane than he is used to. So with some help from Theo, he actually managed to get out of the canal and escape this horrible situation. And another plane arrives, and Porco kind of realized that it's Ferrarian, that he's basically is guiding him through the lines, and so he doesn't run into any more trouble, basically. So he gets guided out to the sea, basically. And then back at the hotel, Curtis climbs into Gina's secret garden, and he confronts her with a letter, and he's supposed to become an actor in Hollywood, and he wants Gina to kind of join with him and go to America, but she laughs this off and says, like, because it's really stupid, she thinks, but she says that she has another, referring to Porco. And then Porco flies by with his plane, because now he's obviously returned, and he does a lot of air acrobatics with his new plane, and she is in awe, and she has a flashback to the first time with Marco, also known as Porco, and their first flight together on this old plane and what happened, and she flashes back to her in current, and she calls him an idiot because he was kind of a stupid man. And then when Theo goes to refuel the plane, and Porco talks to the shop owner, and then he flies back to his hidden location. But when he arrives there, there's like the pirates are there to ambush him, and it's sort of a weird scene. But they want to destroy the plane, but then Theo kind of tells him that you wouldn't destroy a plane that beautiful, it's new, and I made it. And for some reason, all the characters in this movie are horny bastards, like every one of them. So they always want the girl, and because they're horny pirates or whatever, they just sort of like, but they kind of don't, they want to destroy a plane, but they can't because that would upset Theo. So they kind of like in this an agreement, and then she has a speech to the pirates and tell them all the good things the pirates actually done and how they're free and how they always keep their word and whatnot. So now they can't destroy the plane, but then they have to settle this the old way, so they have to make a deal or a duel. And Curtis kind of arrives. He jumps down from the top of the cliff and kind of lands, and of course he falls for Theo as well, and this is kind of a stupid scene. So the pirate kind of, and Curtis and everything, they agree that Porco is supposed to have a duel with the planes with Curtis, who's the best. So the deal is, if man, this is tiring, but the deal is that if Porco wins, they have to pay all the bills for the plane repairs, because it's kind of a down payment still. He hasn't paid it off yet. And if Curtis wins, or the pirates, Theo gets to marry Curtis, which is really weird, but Theo agrees to this for some reason. I don't know why, it's kind of stupid, but she does. And then there's kind of a funny scene. They kind of beat Porco up a bit, and then they actually just leave, and then supposedly the next day this is supposed to happen, this duel. And then Theo, and once the pirates have left, Theo and Porco kind of argues about the whole thing and the whole ordeal, but they kind of just agree to just go with it. It's like a 50-50 chance, and but Porco says like, well, it's fine, we'll make do. And then Theo takes a swim, and later in the night, Porco is sitting he's inspecting every bullet that he bought from the basement, one by one, just to make sure that for the fight tomorrow everything will work out. And Theo wakes up and he sees his face, but it's not a pig's face, it's an ordinary man's face. And then Theo asks him how he became a pig, because she realized that he wasn't always a pig. And he says that, and she tells him that she's heard stories that he jumped from his plane to save an enemy pilot. And then Theo asks him if it's like a curse, and if it can be broken like with a kiss, like a frog and a princess. And he says, kind of, don't be stupid. And it kind of lowers the mood a bit, of course. But then he laughs and smiles and says like, I realized that thanks to you, I realized that not all people are garbage or trash, and that mankind is just, there are good people too. And then she asks him for a bedtime story, and then he tells him how he became what he is today. He starts to tell about the war story and how he fought the other side, and he was the last man standing. And then there was a white light, and he was numbed and he couldn't feel anything. And there was like this like stream of clouds, but it wasn't actually a cloud like a stream of clouds. It was actually airplanes. And he calls out to his fallen comrades. He's possibly dead. I'm not really sure how to interpret this, but what happens is he basically goes down And when he wakes up, he's basically flying along the waterline, and he basically survived the whole thing, and he's not dead, you know. And then he gets a kiss from Theo, and then he kind of blushes. And the next day, the pirates have arranged this kind of big betting. There's like this small area of like islands, and they have arranged a betting, and there's all sorts of people they're betting on who will actually win this thing. And then of course what happens, they get on the plane, and they what happens is that there's like a dog fight between Curtis and Porco, and Porco kind of purposely makes Curtis waste his bullets. And then cutting to Gina decoding a military message that the military is on the way to this betting area. So Porco, there is this like dogfight going on, and then Porco's machine gun kind of jams, and this sort of funny scene where Curtis is out of bullets, and he takes up a normal like a Colt kind of what do you call it, like a revolver, and starts shooting at Porco, and he kind of hits his plane. It's kind of a stupid scene, and then they're out of ammo, and then he starts throwing wrenches and stuff at each other, and eventually they both land on the water, and they get out, and it's turned into a fist fight, and they kind of just trade punches, and all of a sudden they make it like into a boxing match, and they go round after round, and just so what happens is that in the end they're kind of just punch each other out. And Gina arrives and basically tells her, Marco, don't don't lose another girl to your stupid things. And he gets up and he wins the match. And sort of funny scene because he's all bruised up and he has all these kind of, blue kind of bruises and stuff. But anyway, so Gina basically tells everybody that they have to leave because the military is on the way. And so everything is kind of peachy now. And then Porco picks up Theo and grabs her into like Gina's plane, and he tells Gina to take care of Theo and take her to a better place, no more, because this is a kind of a bad lifestyle. And then Gina says he always does this, and she doesn't really like it, but she makes him like. She helps him this one time, and then she drives away with the plane, and Porco gets hit in the back of his head, and he falls into the water again. And then everybody leaves, as I said, and Curtis and Porco kind of stays to diverge the military, kind of lure him off a bit. And then, of course, what happened is that Curtis goes back to America, and he becomes this Hollywood kind of actor, and Gina and Theo becomes good friends, and she actually continues to make planes, and all kind of into this new era of jet engines, which I thought was kind of cool, from this kind of old retro kind of propeller planes to jet engines. And that's the end of the movie. So what do I think of Porco Rosso? It's actually one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. I probably say that about every one of those, but it's one of the really good ones. And I think Hayao Miyazaki, or one of the creators of Studio Ghibli, or one of the co-workers, is actually into planes a lot, because I think there's a plane in like every Studio Ghibli movie. Maybe not the Yamadas, but pretty much every Studio Ghibli movie has planes or is somehow related to planes. And I think this is kind of like a chill movie. I always put it on and kind of watch it kind of as like a kind of mellow out kind of movie, and it's just a chill movie with some popcorn or chips and a cold drink. You can't go wrong with this movie. So yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and take care.